Okay, so I think I should be well enough to answer questions, so let's waste no more time so that I could go to bed sooner. Someone asks, "What's your Hogwarts house?" is my first question. Well, someone, it's the first question in this Q&A as well. I am in the house of Ravenclaw. The real Ultranite says, "What's the difference between ENXP and ADHD?" Well, as far as I know, the cognitive stack of the ENFP and the ENTP is arranged such that the two types have a preference for exploring new possibilities in the short term. Now, it does give the impression that you can't keep their attention for long, but I have found that not to be the case. I've been friends with an ENFP and I could keep his attention on one subject for like maybe as long as 1 hour, and that happens pretty often. ADHD, on the other hand, is a mental condition outlined in the DSM-5, marked by short attention span. Now, I'm not a professional in diagnosing ADHD, so I might need to end my explanation in this regard. The real Ultranite also puts down a whole bunch of questions. For the sake of time, let me answer questions 1, 5, 7, 9, and how about 10? So question 1, what do people misunderstand about you? Well, my resting bitch face often makes people think that I'm too serious and angry all the time. And I mean, there's like a bit of truth to it, but I'm more chill and cool and even insightful once they actually get to know me. Question 5, what is something that you dream about doing? Getting a Tesla and then driving 150 miles per hour on the freeway. But more seriously, like probably pursuing some philanthropical ventures. I figured I would give a ton of money to my local food bank because they can buy food at wholesale price and then they can give to those in need on a larger scale. I also want to contribute to the fight for mental health. I think that's a really noble pursuit. Question 7. Where do you see yourself in 5 to 10 years? Well, I wouldn't be surprised if I end up as a dad, raising a daughter to be a noble badass. Question 9. What's your favorite type of media? Right now for me, it's books and movies. I like peering into the mind of the author through literature or nonfiction. One of my absolute favorite books I've ever read is The Brothers Karamazov by Fyodor Dostoevsky. I've also read Bird by Anne Lamott. I've also read Discrimination and Disparities by Thomas Sowell. I've read Breakthrough Advertising by Eugene Schwartz. I've also read Mating in Captivity by Esther Perel. I've read Orlando by Virginia Woolf. And I've read Stephen King's memoir on writing. As you can tell, it's a really weird mix of knowledge. And in terms of movies, I like action thriller, I like film noir, I like musicals, I like martial arts fight scenes, I like comedy. But more recently, I've been watching all the MCU movies so far, and I can't wait to see what Phase 4 of the MCU will bring. Is anyone going to see A Quiet Place Part 2, by the way? I thought the first one was so well made, and when I saw the trailer for the sequel, I was actually pretty excited. Question 10. What makes you truly happy? The pursuit of knowledge and the wisdom to discern what values I take in that are important to me as a person, a family member, a friend, a soulmate, etc. QmuTube asks, both the ISFJ and the INFJ have auxiliary FE and tertiary TI. As an ISFJ, are you confused between feeling and logic at the same time? Well, I used to be, but through reflective writing, I eventually gained the awareness to differentiate both. Feeling and thinking are in the same cognitive stack, so I can see how that can cause a lot of confusion. If you look at the cognitive stack of every type, you'll never see thinking or feeling in the same introverted or extroverted orientation. And that kind of makes sense because fundamentally, thinking and feeling are two different natures altogether. They pretty much check on each other. Sojourner asks, Number 1. Are you Asian? LOL JK. I saw that a few times in the comments, so I thought I would throw that out there. Yeah, there's a lot of speculation that I am Asian. And they're right. I am. Am I Asian Canadian? Nope, I live further south. I'm Asian American. Why did you choose that channel name? Well, here's an unsexy answer. So, back when Pokemon Go was like this massive hype of an app, I went to download that said app to see what the hype was about. Now, when I built my character, I was asked to choose my team. Now, the teams were Valor, Mystic, and Instinct. I chose Team Valor. So if I chose Team Valor, why is my channel name Mr. Mystic? Well, Kimbermees says, "Congrats! How are you?" Well, short, sweet, and to the point. I love it. I'm doing very well. Thank you for asking. I hope you're doing very well too. Amana Ramzine asks, "How are you really?" I guess I can't hold up this facade anymore. You know, I just wanted to be open about this for once, but when I found that Ben & Jerry's mint chocolate cookie exploded on contact, it sort of left a hole in my heart. And then I thought about hazelnut quadratinis, and then I reached out to her and I told her, "Do you want to be my favorite pastime snack?" And then in a heartbeat she said, "Oh my god, yes! Yes! I've been waiting for this day for so long. I knew that ice cream was no good for you. Running up your calorie count and making you feel unhealthy. One bite out of me and you're still okay? I'll last a long time." No, but seriously, I think I understand your question. In terms of my overall well-being, I'm a much happier person than, let's say, like 10 years ago. I mentioned this before in my channel, but I do have clinical depression. And yeah, I mean, having clinical depression is something that I might have to deal with for like years and years. And it sucks feeling sad and tired for no reason sometimes. But at the end of the day, the fact that I'm still alive and able to look at the sunset and the trees and my pet dog and take in the air is like a blessing in and of itself. You know, one of the breakthroughs that I had in handling my depression is letting go of the expectation to be happy, letting go of the pursuit of happiness, realizing that happiness is already within. And so the question is not if I will ever achieve it, but how often I can bring that out of me. And it's not like a hedonistic type of thing. It's not spending or drinking. That's the pursuit of pleasure. I'm talking about that feeling when you're on top of a mountain and then you see the view of the vast landscape and then you hear absolutely nothing inside your head, nothing outside, except for the crunching footsteps, you know, being fully immersed in the present. How old are you? Yeah, this is a question asked by a few other commenters in here. Well, in my ISFJ reveal video, I did mention very briefly that I joked about having a quarter-life crisis, so I'll leave that to interpretation if you don't mind. Can we get some background into who you are? It really helps us as the audience connect with you more. Really good question, and before I can get to that, Basic MBTI asked a similar question. She first said, "I just bought ridiculous snacks today that I might eat, and I should finish eating them before I go to sleep because I am prone to sleep eating." Sleep eating is a thing? See, this is why I hide everything inside of a shelf. Thank you for the shout out. This inspires me to do an actual shout out too. I'm looking forward to it. I know an ISFJ and it's my mom, LOL. That's why in my robotic MBTI ranking, I suggested that everyone's mom is an ISFJ and many people confirmed. Oh, my sweet summer friend, I am going to ruin your day. What is your background? I would love to know more about you as a person. Well, it seems like that sentiment is shared by other people like Amana Ramzine here. So I guess I will give you a small slice of my life. I guess I'll share my educational background and then the state of my social circle, and then I'll segue into how I think about things. So yeah, I mean, back when I was a wee pebble, I was one of those gifted students, quote unquote, except I didn't have any form of discipline whatsoever. At least according to school standards. You know, I just read on my own time. I pursued some knowledge that I was interested in, but at the same time, I had to play by the rules and I really liked being around friends. So already you can see the FI struggle here. I was pretty cool with everybody, but then I had a really hard time making, close friendships past superficial rapport. And the friends that I did manage to make, I still keep in touch with them to this day. And those friends had the same issue of not knowing what social circle that they belonged in. So I guess that's all I have to say about that. But I did have a 4.2 GPA, which was pretty cool. In terms of what I wanted to do going forward, I was actually considering a double major in literature and mathematics. I remember talking to my counselor about this, and she was like, well, it's possible, but it will be harder for you because those two majors are very different and they don't overlap. And I thought to myself, well, yes, they do. The dynamic between the two disciplines serves as the bridge between the concrete and the abstract. And by the way, the Eastern philosophers and the Middle Eastern mathematicians have known this for thousands of years. Anyways, I pursued this double major at UC Santa Barbara for like a semester and a half, but then I spent most of my time getting a little too immersed in the party culture there. So I went to a community college, got my associates in like English and mathematics. I got sort of tired of sitting in class and repeating what the professor said to get that A+ along the way. And then I went back to Santa Barbara and then spent another semester there until I decided, well, fuck it. I don't believe my pursuit of knowledge involves having to regurgitate lectures. So then I decided I was finished with school at this point. So then I became a work-from-home data entry clerk, as well as a Lyft driver, among other odd jobs. And then I used the money to figure out how to build my investment portfolio. And now I'm just figuring out my next move. I know it's kind of an uneventful story, but I don't know, I just feel like my prime years are still to come and I'm just figuring out how to prepare for it. In terms of how I think, hopefully this Q&A helps you understand that I don't really fit neatly into the ISFJ stereotype, even though I have the cognitive stack. Particularly, I don't really fit that traditionalist quote-unquote description of this type. I think that the only traditionalist part about me is the importance of having family and friends and choosing the healthiest relationships I can to have the most optimal life that I can. Other than that, I'm pretty open-minded to new experiences, to new ways of thinking. And when I took the Big 5 personality assessor, the IP 120 specifically, and I'll link that in the description, I scored very high on openness. So I suppose to end this question, hopefully this will open up another discussion about dismantling stereotypes about the other 15 cognitive types. Someone asks, why do you like mint ice cream so much? I know I won't get the answer to that one. Well, someone, I will answer that question. There was this one time when I asked my friend why people don't like mint flavored anything, and he replied, well, because they don't want to associate dessert with toothpaste. And that actually sent me back to a time when I was 4 years old. So I was helping my family set up Christmas decorations, and then we were hanging candy canes on the tree. And then my mom gave me one to chew on, and then I remember it tasting so good that I wanted another one, but I wasn't allowed to have another one until Christmas Day. So I went to the kitchen and I got a chair, and I took the chair to boost myself up to get some saran wrap. And then my dumbass sneaked into the bathroom, and then I got a tube of Aquafresh, and then I squeezed out just enough toothpaste to match the shape of the candy cane, and then I put the toothpaste into the freezer, and then when I took it out, I wrapped it, and then I stole another candy cane from the tree, and then I replaced it with the toothpaste copy. And then the next morning, my parents found a puddle of like melted toothpaste and plastic next to the Christmas tree. And I tried to blame it on my older cousin, but I ended up getting my ass beat that day. And by the way, I'm pretty cool with my parents, so you don't have to worry about anything. So like when I talk about it nowadays with my parents, my mom would tell me that she remembered that her beating me was not working because I was laughing the whole time. I mean, what a story, right? Ice Thunder Guy 132 writes, congratulations! Gosh diggity dang it, you're so cool! Gee willikers, I love this community as well! Sorry. Do you have a vision or goal that you want to achieve? Like, is being a YouTuber your end goal? Well, I think being a YouTuber is somewhat of a starting point, or rather, I'm just treating it as a hobby right now. Like, I do want to get to that point where I could just do whatever I want without having to worry about money all the time. Like planning for my parents' retirement, or building my stock portfolio, or traveling the world, or donating to noble causes related to healthy food and mental health, or buying as many super burritos as I want. or building a home gym? Second and less dramatic question. Do you play an instrument of any kind? Is mayonnaise an instrument? No, I play guitar. I'm just not too good at it. Whenever I want to learn a new song, I just look up tabs and then I read said tabs, and I kind of just learn from that. What's your favorite healthy food? Well, I like salmon, and I like fried eggplant, and I like soup, and I like broccoli. So I guess that's it. Will you remember us once you're famous? Well, if we have built enough rapport, then I'll remember you. People kept saying that I should make a Discord, and I'm constantly on the fence about it. Like, I keep thinking about making one if I was ever to gain fame on here and I wanted to keep in touch with my day ones, and I'm still thinking about it. Do you feel like your view of yourself or the world has changed after you've been professionally typed? That's a really good question. To an extent, the results help alleviate my mind of a lot of the tension that I felt when I thought I was an INFJ. What really surprised me was being typed as an ISFJ. I didn't think I was a sensing type because I was definitely like highly intuitive. And then I learned that ISFJs, or any sensing type for that matter, can use intuition, and can use intuition to a good degree. Likewise, I've learned that intuitive types can also use sensing to a good degree. It's not like you are in your mind 24/7. You know, you have to eat, you have to use the bathroom, you have to show up to work. So with all that being said, all of this made me question the sensing versus intuition debacle that we inflict upon ourselves, because evidently everyone is capable of both. Now, in terms of my view of myself, it doesn't really change anything. I went into MBTI and cognitive functions already knowing that what I am is what I am, based off of my own reflections and everything. So I've already had some sense of personal identity before rekindling my channel. It's kind of like this, you know, here's a plant. No matter what your attitude is to this plant, no matter how you analyze this plant, you can label this plant as a different name. You can give it a name. It doesn't change the existence of what it is. And what it is that it just is. By the way, if you were an intuitive type and you were looking at the plant the entire time, congratulations, you've just learned to utilize your extroverted sensing. Speaking of plants, Geo asks, it might seem a bit odd, but do you garden? I think one of the stereotypes I've seen of ISFJs is that they garden and can maintain nice gardens. I really want to build that skill for myself. I'm just a bit behind in that arena of my life though. I was just curious. I feel like SI might be a good function to have for tending to real-world sensory things like maintaining plant life. I have an ENTP friend that tries and fails sometimes, and I'm sort of wondering if this could be a low SI thing. I appreciate the question. Now, my cop-out answer is that anyone can garden with a little bit of time and effort, but for the sake of this video, I think I'll elaborate a little bit more. I don't garden, but my mom does. And this will trip everyone out, but my mom is actually more INFJ than ISFJ, and she has the green thumb in the family. She just happened to really hone in her SE and SI, as well as her TE to a certain extent. And I've had some ISFJ friends who garden, and I've also had a few other INFJ friends with a developed SE, and even some ESTPs and ESFPs with a developed NI who are pretty good at gardening. So, I mean, depending on who you talk to, there are different motivations as to why they garden. My ESTP friend would say, so I can get some food and I gotta feed myself and I don't have to go to the grocery store. My ESFP friend would say, oh, because I know I can and it's pretty fun. My ISFJ friend would tell me so that at some point when I invite my friends over, this whole house would be one vibe and they can relax and have a great time. And then my mom would say, because my faith and my love for everybody can be brought to life and I can feel that when I care for my plants. Did you know I talk to my plants sometimes? But I am aware that you asked about ENTPs, and in my experience and observation, I feel like it has to do more with how much you can develop your SE. Someone asks, why did you study Carl Jung's functions? Out of curiosity? Because everyone does the MBTI test? Smiley face. Yeah, I mean, there is some truth to that. More so because I was more uncomfortable about the stereotypes associated with the 16 personality types. And because a mere 16 types will not account for the people who were mistyped or were on the cusp between two types, and it certainly will not account for all 7 billion people on the planet. And I found it pretty unfortunate for so many people to fall into this sort of subsequent prejudice just based on the 16 personalities description of that type, knowing that while they have the identical cognitive stack, they are so much more than what they are depicted to be. At least with Carl Jung's cognitive functions, I have an excuse to dismantle all the stereotypes of each type. Plus, the very subtle ESFP in me says that I might have fun doing so. Groovy Themes says, "Congrats! Are you interested in psychology/personality type stuff as a career?" I thought about it at one point. I decided that this would be better off as a hobby or a side project, but seeing that this channel has a possibility of growing a lot, maybe I might reconsider. Who knows? I don't, but we'll see. Markamu says, "I was an INFJ for 2 years, and now the tests show that I am an ISTJ. But the thing is, I have at least 80% of INFJ traits, but I could still relate to some ISTJ traits. How is this possible for a radish? Am I a vegetable with sensing and intuition? Or thinking and feeling at the same time? Just look at my face, bruh." Well, our resident radish is actually going in the right direction here. The way I see it, you might have learned to use your underutilized functions a little bit more over time. If you're an INFJ, you might have learned to use your SC and maybe even your FI and your TE as well. And it's just a part of growth, and I wouldn't be too worried about you at this point. Alexander Wiggin asks, "What is your favorite MBTI type?" Ask me at any other time and I will give you a different answer, but for right now, I have a particular interest in knowing more about the ESFP, the INTP, and the INFP. Hologenic says, "The world must know more about INFJ specific hand movements. I do it too." I don't know. I don't believe I have anything to add to that. It just seems like I said everything I could say about hand movements. Someone asks, "Who came first, the egg or the chicken?" Well, in biological history, it was likely that sea creatures learned to lay eggs before land creatures have. So in that case, the egg came first. But if we are strictly talking about the chicken and the egg, I wouldn't be surprised if at some point a chicken gave birth to another chicken before the DNA formed some sort of code that allowed chickens to form eggs. So in that case, the chicken came first. It's all up to interpretation. Prajwal Pandey, sorry for butchering your name, asks, "What advice would you give to people who are younger than you? Also make a Discord server." Okay. Eventually, I'll get to making a Discord server. Now, for some advice for younger folks, number one, learn how to invest before the age of 25. By extension, learn how money works. There is some truth to the quote, "money is the root of all evil," but philanthropists have evidently shown that money can also help people perform more good deeds in the world. Money will not buy happiness, but it will buy you some time so that you can devote that time to figure out what makes you happy. Number two, even the purest introvert cannot detach from social interaction. Whether you like it or not, you're going to have to make some foray into socializing and making friends. If you plan to do so using alcohol or reckless activity, you're doing it wrong. You're going to have to learn something or meet with people with similar interests. You want to travel, you want to volunteer, anything that will help you develop extroverted sensing or extroverted thinking or extroverted intuition. Number three, and this might be controversial to some, but if you find yourself fitting 100% into an idea or a type, then you have more soul searching to do and more nuances to uncover. Just like the grammar rules to the English language of which we speak, there are always exceptions. The sooner that you accept this, the sooner that you can figure out how to navigate through life that tailors to you. In terms of cognitive functions, this would be a great exercise in your introverted feeling. Number four, another controversial one. Wisdom will beget stoicism. The more you learn and experience, the more you process and the more you understand, the calmer and more composed that you will be in the mind. However, stoicism will not beget wisdom. If you practice stoicism without your personal life lesson to act as a basis, then stoicism is aimless and then you will not find peace. Sarah A says, "Yeah, ISFJs unite!" Are you really an ISFJ? That's really awesome. Also, quick question. 2 kids at a summer camp, Devin and Philip, are competing in a potato snack race. I'm pretty sure you meant potato sack race. Devin is younger, so Oh. 2 kids at a summer camp, Devon and Philip, are competing in a potato sack race. Devon is younger, so she is given a head start of 3 yards. When the race starts, Devon hops at a rate of 1 yard per second, and Philip hops 2 yards per second. Eventually, Philip will overtake Devon. How far will Philip have to hop? How long will that take? Well, the first thing I notice is the key terms yards per second and head start. Yards per second indicates slope, your rise over run, and head start indicates the y-intercept. You know what that means. We're going to have to utilize the formula y equals mx plus b to help guide us to the answer to Sarah A's problem. In this formula, m is the slope and b is the y-intercept. In this problem, we are going to have 2 formulas in the y equals mx plus b format, one for Devon and one for Philip. So we'll start with Philip. Philip will hop at a rate of 2 yards a second, so we'll replace m with 2. Now we have to find b, but first we have to find x and y. X will be the amount of time passed in seconds. Since the race hasn't started yet, x will be 0. Y will be the distance traveled in yards. And since Philip will start from the starting line when x equals 0, y will also be 0. B will then be 0 because everything else will be 0. So as a general rule, Philip's formula will be y equals 2x. Now we'll go to Devon. Devon will hop at a rate of 1 yard a second, so we will replace m with 1. Now, we'll have to find b, but again, we'll have to first find x and y. Again, since the race hasn't started, x will be 0. But since Devon has a head start of 3 yards, at time 0, y will be 3. So solving for b, we are left with b equals 3. Now, in general terms, Devon's formula will be y equals x plus 3. Now we are in a position to answer the second half of the question, how long will Philip take to eventually overtake Devon? So to do that, we will have to make the 2 formulas equal to each other. 2x equals x plus 3. Now solving for x, we are left with x equals 3, and since x represents the amount of time passed in seconds, Philip will take a little more than 3 seconds to overtake Devon. Now plug in x to either one of the formulas previously mentioned and we get y equals 6. And since y represents the distance in yards, it will take a little over 6 yards before Philip overtakes Devon. Now, why do I say a little over 3 seconds or a little over 6 yards and not just 3 seconds or 6 yards? That's because I absolutely forgot to mention that the phrase Philip will overtake Devon implies a mathematical inequality. I can't just say 3 seconds or 6 yards because that's when Philip is at the same distance as Devon. It's more accurate to say a little over because that's when Philip will truly go further than Devon in this potato sack race. And by the way, if Philip is going that fast, I don't know, you might have to get him tested for like performance enhancing drugs or whatever. And I think that's it. I had a little too much fun going through this Q&A even when I got sick along the way. Thank you very much for your questions, and who knows, I might do this again someday, you know? Yeah, I'm so freaking tired. I'm just gonna have to go get some rest a little more. Thank you all for wishing me well, and I hope you all are well too, and I'll see you next time.